There is an estimated $70 billion sitting in state government accounts across the United States right now, belonging to about 1 in 7 Americans. Some of it is measured in single dollars. Some of it, as you're about to see, is measured in millions. In the next 15 minutes, I'll show you exactly where to check, for free, walk through the real stories behind the biggest recoveries on record, and make sure you know how to spot the scams that follow this exact topic around. One honest number before we go further. NAUPA's own data puts the average claim value at $2,080. But the median, the more typical claim, is only about $100. A handful of much larger claims pull that average way up, and you're about to meet a few of them. Go in with realistic expectations, but also go in curious. The range on this is bigger than almost anyone expects. Let's define this properly, because it's broader than most people assume. The obvious categories: a forgotten checking or savings account, an uncashed paycheck, an old security deposit. But it also includes stocks, bonds, and mutual fund dividends. The contents of a safe deposit box nobody came back for. Utility deposits and refunds. Court deposits, trust funds, and escrow balances left over from a legal case. Even mineral and oil and gas royalty payments can end up here, especially in states with a lot of drilling activity, often because heirs don't realize the rights existed in the first place. Then there's one category most people have never heard of: demutualization payments. Decades ago, several major insurance companies, names like MetLife and Prudential among them, converted from being owned by their policyholders to being publicly traded corporations, and paid out cash or stock to those policyholders as part of the switch. Some of those payments never reached people who had moved or changed their name in the meantime, and that money is still sitting in state accounts today, sometimes under a policy from a job someone left 30 years ago. And one more: class action settlement checks mailed to an old address and returned undeliverable. We'll come back to that one. It's bigger than it sounds. So how big can this actually get? Bigger than you'd think, but I want to be upfront about something first. These next examples are not typical. Most claims are much smaller, closer to that $2,080 average or $100 median. The point of these stories isn't to promise you a jackpot. It's to show why a few free minutes of checking is worth it, no matter which end of the range you land on. In 2022, the Illinois State Treasurer's Office announced the largest unclaimed property recovery in U.S. history: $11 million. It belonged to a Chicago man named Joseph Stankak, who lived quietly and died without a will. Nobody around him knew he'd built that kind of estate. It took investigators searching back 5 generations to track down 119 relatives, spread across the US, Poland, and Slovakia, who were entitled to a share. We'll come back to that Noel detail shortly, because it matters if you're ever searching on behalf of a relative. And in South Carolina, the story gets almost funny. The state treasurer's office found a man owed more than $763,000, inherited from his father, who'd passed away 15 years earlier. When the treasurer's office called to tell him, he thought it was a scam and almost hung up. They had to call back and convince him it was real, which, honestly, is exactly the right instinct to have. We'll get to why in a few minutes. For a sense of the range, in Wyoming's unclaimed property system alone, claims run from single pennies all the way up to that $6.72 million stock recovery, all sitting in the same state system, at the same time. Notice something about 2 of those stories: the original owner had already died, and it was an heir who eventually collected. That's common enough to be worth its own note. Most state programs allow a deceased person's rightful heirs to file a claim on unclaimed property, even years or decades later. There's usually no deadline. What it typically requires is proof of the relationship, a death certificate, documentation showing you're a legal heir or executor, and in larger or more complicated estates, sometimes a probate court's involvement. The way the Stancack case needed genealogists to build out a full family tree. For a smaller claim, it's usually much simpler, a death certificate and a form. It's worth searching a parent's or grandparent's name in addition to your own. Setting aside inheritances, most unclaimed property starts far more ordinarily. You move and forget to update an old bank. You switch jobs and there's a final paycheck, or a small account nobody rolls over. A company gets bought out or shuts down, and the paperwork trail goes cold. None of it requires anything dramatic, it's just ordinary life moving fast enough that a few loose ends get left behind. One more category deserves a mention, even though it's really its own topic: class action lawsuit settlements. When a company settles a class action, courts often set aside money for everyone affected, but when people don't file a claim, a large share typically goes unclaimed. It's a big enough subject to deserve its own video later. For now, the practical version: before you delete an email mentioning class action or settlement as spam, take 15 seconds to actually read it. Some of what ends up in the databases we're about to search started exactly that way. Here's the part most people don't know: the company or bank holding this money can't just keep it forever. After what's called a dormancy period, typically 1 to 5 years, depending on the state and the type of property, they're legally required to hand it over to the state. From there, it's held, often indefinitely, waiting for the rightful owner to come looking. Not every case makes headlines, though. Picture someone who moved out of an apartment and the landlord mailed back the security deposit, except it went to the old address. It bounced back, there was no way to reach the new one, and after a few years, by law, that money went to the state. This is the ordinary version: no lawyers, number 119 relatives across 2 continents, just a forgotten couple $100. Let's actually check. 2 things worth knowing first: this is completely free, and it takes about 5 minutes to search, though if you find a match, actually receiving the money can take a few weeks while the state verifies your claim, so don't expect instant payment. One more thing before we start: there's no single place that searches everything. That's not a design flaw, it's just how the system is split up, so this is a short walkthrough, not one search box. First, missingmoney.com, a free, multi-state search run by NAUPA, the National Association of Unclaimed Property Administrators. It covers most states in a single search of your name. A few states run their own separate systems, including California and Pennsylvania. For those, go to unclaimed.org, NAUPA's own site, which has an interactive map linking directly to every state's official program. Quick update on something that used to be a separate step: matured savings bonds used to require their own tool, called Treasury Hunt. That tool was discontinued in 2025, so if you come across an old article or video telling you to check Treasury Hunt, that's outdated. Treasury's current guidance is to check your state's unclaimed property program instead, the same unclaimed.org we just covered. That covers most of it. But USA.gov keeps one more clearinghouse page specifically because so many federal programs each hold their own slice: unpaid final paychecks through the Department of Labor, forgotten pensions through the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation, unclaimed VA life insurance funds for veterans, FHA mortgage insurance refunds through HUD, and deposits from failed banks or credit unions through the FDIC or NCUA. And IRS.gov separately covers unclaimed tax refunds, though you generally have to claim those within 3 years of the original filing deadline. One more thing before you search: do it more than once, with variations. Try your maiden name if you have one. Try nicknames. Try your name with and without a middle initial, and with junior or senior if that applies. A lot of real matches get missed simply because someone searched their name one way, and the record was filed another. If you have a very common name, add the state and city you lived in to narrow it down, otherwise you may see dozens of entries for people who share your name but aren't you. Most of these searches only need your name to start. If you find a match, actually claiming it usually asks for a bit more: your current and past addresses, some form of ID, and depending on the property type, a document or two proving you're the right person or the right heir. This part matters just as much as finding the money. Remember the South Carolina story from earlier, the man who thought the state treasurer's own phone call was a scam? That instinct isn't paranoid. It's correct. It's just pointed at the wrong call in that particular case, because this topic genuinely does attract scammers. You have unclaimed money is exactly the message people want to believe. The real process is always free, and you search for it yourself on the official sites we just went through. So if it's reversed, if someone contacts you out of nowhere claiming you have unclaimed funds, treat it as unverified until you check the official site independently. A few specific red flags, and these aren't guesses, they're straight from an FTC consumer alert issued this year: pressure to act immediately, like claim within 48 hours or forfeit it. Most states hold this property indefinitely, there's no real deadline. A request for an upfront processing fee, legitimate state programs never charge to search or to claim. A request for your full social security number before you've even started a claim. And a newer variant the FTC flagged just this month: letters claiming to be from a law firm, saying a distant relative left you unclaimed life insurance money. It's the same scam wearing different paperwork. Paid finder services do exist legitimately, and most states register and cap what they charge, commonly 10 to 30%. They're not illegal. They're just never necessary, since you can run the same search yourself, for free, in the time it took to watch this video. In 2025, states returned more than $4 billion to people who checked. The year before that, over $4.49 billion. That's a consistent pattern, not a one-time event, and it's still a small fraction of an estimated $70 billion or more sitting out there. The gap isn't because the money isn't real. It's because many people never think to check. Before you go, here's your checklist. Search missingmoney.com and unclaimed.org under your current name, then again under any previous or maiden names. Search every state you've ever lived in, not just where you live now. If it applies, search for a deceased parent or relative. Heirs can often claim on their behalf, even decades later. If you ever ran a small business, search that name too. And check your email for old class action settlement notices you might have written off as spam. An $11 million estate, a $6.72 million stock recovery, a $763,000 phone call somebody almost hung up on, and a $100 median claim that's just as real for the person who finds it. Before you move on to the next video, pause here and actually search your name, your old addresses, and any state you've lived in. It takes less time than the rest of this video did. Subscribe for simple explanations of the money Americans miss, lose, and overpay, one system at a time.